Okay, hi David, how are you?
Good. How are you, David?
Good. It's good
David,
to see
David.
you. Yeah, that doesn't happen that often, although the name is so common, right?
Yeah.
It's good to meet you. Thank you so much for making time to chat with me today.
No, thank you.
Yeah, we have a lot to
Loving the
t
mustache.
Thank you so
It's
much.
it
Yeah,
is on point. The goatee and stash are looking great today.
it's not nice and perky for the morning. I don't know about in the afternoon.
Oh, gotcha. I feel that.
Yeah, we have a lot to chat about. I know you've been up to a lot, including like the publication of your book and some advocacy work that you're doing. But it's also an opportunity to catch up on like other things, right? But so we'll just take this conversation bit by bit. Um, I know that like one of the biggest things that people probably would want to know is since publicly coming out, how has your understanding of yourself evolved, not only as an artist, but as a queer Latino navigating faith,
Mm,
identity, visibility, and community?
mm. That's a good question. Um, yeah, I think discovering yourself in a way that where you were part of communities that had strong identities and strong ways of creating that identity, and knowing that a part of you doesn't fit the criteria of what makes you Utah or a Mormon or Latino. Um, it's I, having to learn how to accept myself as a queer person, even though it went against the things that those communities taught me, uh, about what's okay and what isn't. You have to learn how to break away from the mold a little bit and still find your identity in those spaces. And sometimes there isn't really as much of a roadmap. There aren't really guidelines on how to do that, so you just kind of have to figure your way out into it and make a place for yourself. And as you do that and continue to be more comfortable about with yourself, live your life more in a way that people are aware of that part of you as of being a queer person. You start seeing it more. And I guess now it's even much easier with social media to just find other people like you. Like the algorithm will lead you to people who also may be uh, a queer Latino, a queer, or just like ex-religious and all these different places. It's been very. It was scary at first. Now it's been very fun. It's been relieving, just to the point that where before I used to be afraid, like I used to be very conservative, very shy, and very like, we don't talk about that. We don't talk about Bruno, and to the point now where it's like I'm out. I can talk. I can be an openly queer person and even an advocate for sexual health. I've been partnering up with Gilead to discuss the importance of not just the importance of it, but just like, hey, let's talk about it. Let's talk about sexual health. So many of us grew up saying, we're not going to pretend like that's not even there. We're just going to pretend sex doesn't exist. It's a big no-no, especially if you're gay, especially if you're queer. Like that, you're not supposed to. And so a lot of people go about and it's like, well, we're still sexual beings. And, you have those needs. You have a longing just for intimacy, for connection. And you still deserve to know, to be educated, to understand how your body works, how sexual intimacy works, and that you can be responsible. You can do it in a safe way. And that was something I didn't know. I didn't know that until my 20s, that was even a possibility. I didn't even know PrEP, what there was a medication PrEP to help prevent the spread of HIV AIDS. And if you have it, that you can live a long, healthy life even with it. I didn't know that. I thought it was still a death sentence.
hmm
Um, I didn't know the progress we had made, and that, oh, it's okay to be sexually intimate with someone, even if they're of the same sex. And so I'm it's great to be able to do it in a professional way,
Yeah.
where I think it sets the scene and it's like, hey, you may have been like me. You may have been like a closeted Mormon who grew up in Utah, who didn't know any of you were never taught any of these things either. And just so you know, it's an option. You can go talk to your doctor. You can get STI testing. You can get it regularly tested if you are more sexually active, and take care of yourself and take care of other people um, around you.
Yeah. What motivated you to speak so openly about sexual health and PrEP advocacy?
I, since it was not something I knew until I came out, the more I learned about it, the more I was like, I wish more people knew about this. In in LA, and like I feel like in LA and like other big cities like New York, people it's more normal to talk about it. It's not so taboo to even talk about queer life and a gay life, and just sexual health and responsibility and sexual safety in general. I used to live in the South. I lived in Tennessee for 8 or 9 years. And over there, it's still, I feel like even amidst the queer community, it is still taboo to talk about STI testing, about the fact that there are medications you can take like PrEP. And I think people, because their culture has shunned those topics, they themselves just kind of block it out and don't take a responsible and safe approach. And they could. It's just for them, they've been conditioned to be uncomfortable about it. So I'm hoping the more I talk about it and we just expose and make it normal, the more they can feel it's okay for me to go to the doctor and get tested and take PrEP and take care of myself. And I don't have to feel ashamed about being a sexually active person. I can do it and also be safe and be healthy and have a good time, discover myself, and enjoy that part of life of being sexually active.
Yeah, as a queer Latino myself and somebody who comes from a culture that is deeply rooted in machismo, religion, family expectations, and all of the things that surround that, how do you feel as somebody who's of mixed race, who comes from different identities themselves? How do you feel that queer Latine community members are so deeply impacted by those intersections?
Yes, I think there's a lot of, because of the deeply rooted religious part of the culture of Latin culture, it it's natural. It's not natural. It's so common to hear the the homophobic rhetoric of, oh, being gay is bad. And it's very strange to me because I feel a lot of times um it's just anything that is not masculine is looked down upon a lot of time in Latin culture, and just in culture in general. But specifically with the Latin culture, where I've noticed, and discuss it in my book, Devout, where I saw double standards a lot of times for where I don't know, it's a bigger problem to be gay than it is, oh, but because gay people are associated with pedophiles. I don't know why, because it was in my family, like it was, there was an adult who was, and I discuss it in my book, and I had my sister's permission to do it because she wanted to spread awareness. But like there was an adult in the family who um was molesting my sister. And I see that happen so many times. They're like, oh yeah, I have a primo and I have an uncle and a tío that was sexually assaulting me as a child. And for some reason, when it's another thing that's taboo. So people are like, we'll just
Hmm.
pretend it didn't happen. We'll just brush it under the rug. And I feel like sexuality a lot of times is swept under the rug. So Vic, helpless victims are not given justice and they're not listened to and taken care of. And then there's also just the gay community in the Latin community, within the Latin community, where it's because you don't talk about things, you're not educated properly. You're not properly educated about what it means to be gay. You're not properly educated about, hey, you can hold family accountable just because they're family y
Hmm.
familia, y hay que estar unidos y juntos. Um, you can still hold people accountable when they do shit like do bad stuff like that. And just because they're the man of the home or of the family, you can still hold them accountable. But I think it's just taboo things that you have to keep talking about. Sexual health is another thing. Like, hey, there you can use condoms. There's PrEP that you can take to prevent HIV, AIDS spreading. And if someone tests positive, they can take the medication and live a healthy, full life and still be sexually active without putting others at risk. You can do it responsibly and safely. So I just the more you talk about things, the more people can be less afraid and realize that's an option for me.
Yeah, you mentioned your book, Devout, and that really explores deep personal experiences that surround faith, identity, self-discovery. What has your emotional experience been like writing a book compared to your music?
Right. You get a lot deeper with a book. You can expound on topics and you can elaborate. You can take people on a journey with you. You can with the music, but I just feel like in the book, you can just really let people step into your world and get lost in it and get very specific about the pain you went through, the excitement, the joy, and the life realizations, those moments that just where a pivot happens. And it's like, if I go this way or this way, this will change my life either way. Which way am I going to go? And kind of help people look at that within their own life and their own situation. And I'm hoping that Devout will help them say, okay, I have an opportunity to be in this kind of position where my life could change and I could either go this way. Like for me, one example was me coming out. It wasn't everything about the book, but it was definitely one of the biggest reasons I wrote the book was to say, okay, how did I do that? How did I come out? And why? What led me to making those decisions? Why didn't I just keep it to myself? Why didn't I just stay in the closet? Why didn't I just, blend in um in a and I go into the reasons why and all the moments, all the trauma, the family drama and trauma, um the the low points of my life that helped me realize I need to change something. And hopefully it'll help people inspire people, whatever life transition they may need, to be willing to make that transition for the better.
Absolutely. Think looking far, far ahead, right? When you're very old and you've lived a very fruitful life, what is one legacy or the legacy that you hope to leave for others?
I If there's a legacy that David Archuleta could leave, I just hope that it would be one of vulnerability, but one of courage, and one to just be willing to. I think those are the biggest things. I want people to show that there is courage and there is strength in being a vulnerable person. And I think vulnerability a lot of times is looked at as very unmasculine, not very macho of us to not be the tough testosterone dude who doesn't express his feelings. And it's like, no, if anything, maybe, some people have that strength and others don't, but that is a strength I feel I do have. If I didn't have it, I wouldn't be able to put that vulnerability into my music, into my singing. And I feel like that is a good example of showing that there is power in being emotional and being sentimental and vulnerable. And we should make room for that in our culture as well. You know, it's we get stuck in the machismo culture so much that it's like, oh, that's weak. You know, that's not manly. And it's like, you know what? I'm a man and I may be into other men and other dudes, but I'm still a man. That's why I'm, you know, that's what makes me a gay, you know, queer man. But I'm still a man. And, you know, we can look different, we can be different, and we can contribute to life differently. And you may be an amazing writer. You may be great at fixing things. And you are good at repairing cars. And I create music. I create music that hopefully heals people's souls or gets them moving and dancing. You know, um, there's room for diversity. There's room for things looking different.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate you making time for me and for sharing a little bit more about your work, your life, your advocacy, and your book that I hope, everyone will check out.
Thank you, David. And I hope if people don't have the information that they need yet to be sexually healthy, there is a website that we are partnering with Gilead, and it is healthysexuals.com. It shows you what kind of STIs there are, where what the testing is like, and it just gives you the information to not be afraid of sexual health. So I would just hope people can check that out too.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy the rest of your week.
Muchas gracias, David. Igual a ti.
Gracias.